Here are the components included with your Chevy kit: space rod, a depth rod, and a setup key. In your manual, you'll see that the 3/32 cutter and guide should be used for the General Motors keys. The manual also shows vise set A to be used for the General Motors keys. If your rods came separate from your machine, or if you need to realign your rods, you would use the following procedure. Use the 1/8 inch Allen wrench provided with the machine to remove the 2 Allen screws from the table of the key machine. As you insert a rod into the machine, you must lock the carriage. Here we are showing the depth hub. Move the carriage to the left to locate the locking point of the hub under the table. When you have located the locking point of the hub under the table, insert a 3/32 Allen wrench into the hole. When you first insert the Allen wrench, it will most likely not be in the locked position. Insert the depth rod into the machine. Thread the rod onto the hub with a screwdriver. As you turn the screwdriver, the Allen wrench will drop into the locking point. Continue rotating the screwdriver until the rod comes to a complete stop against the hub. Do not turn the rod onto the hub using the black knob on the end of the rod. We'll use our GM setup key to align the rods. Be sure to use the side of the key that has the extra cutout at the head of the key. Lay the key flat in the vise and align it using the tip stop on the end of the vise. Tighten the key into the vise. To make our adjustments, we will insert a guide into the right collet as opposed to a cutter. Insert the guide high enough so that it Slide the guide into the collet and secure it with the 1/8 inch Allen wrench. Next, we'll position our guide so that it is in the channel of the setup key. Use the feed handle to lower the guide into the channel and bring it up slightly so that the bottom of the guide does not drag on the surface of the key. Next, pull the carriage back and engage the depth rod by tightening the thumb screw. If engaged properly, the carriage should snap left to right as you rotate the depth rod. Our GM setup key is cut to all number 1 depths, so we will align it with the number 1 depth position on the cam. Since we know the setup key is cut to all number 1 depths, we want to align the right side of the guide with the right channel of the key when the cam is on a number 1 position. Before you can proceed, you'll need to turn the screwdriver so that the guide will actually enter the channel of the key. With our guide in the channel of the key, we'll push the carriage forward slightly. Now insert your screwdriver into the depth rod and turn it until the guide just comes in contact with the right channel of the key. Slide the carriage back and forth as you continue to turn the screwdriver. We want the guide to touch the right channel of the key, but not to have excessive drag on it. With our depth rod in the correct position, we'll use our 3/32 Allen wrench to tighten both Allen screws on the neck of the cam. Tighten the screws equally. When the screws are tightened, your cam has been adjusted properly. With our depth rod now aligned, we'll loosen the thumb screw and move on to adjusting the space rod. Our space rod is inserted into the key machine in the same way as the depth rod was. Insert your Allen screw into the hub lock position, slide in your space rod, use a screwdriver to tighten the rod into the machine. Once again, keep in mind that you will probably have to turn the rod a few turns before the Allen screw drops down into the correct position. Tighten up the thumb screw to engage the space rod. And again, when the space rod is properly engaged, the carriage should move forward and back as you turn the space rod. Our GM setup key is cut to all number 1 cuts along the key, except for at the head of the key or the number 1 position, where it is cut to a number 4 position. We need to adjust the space rod so that when it shows a number 1 space position, the guide will move left and right into the deeper cut at the head of the key. Our next step is to turn the space rod until we reach the number 1 space position. It's possible that you may not be able to reach the number 1 space position because your guide is hitting the end of the setup key. If this is the case, simply rotate the screwdriver in the end of the rod to make room so that you can get to the number 1 position. With the cam in the number 1 position, rotate the screwdriver until the guide reaches the end of the setup key. Grasp the lever on the left side of the machine and slide the carriage left to right. If your guide moves into the pre-cut on the key, you've adjusted your rod correctly. With our space rod adjusted properly, tighten up the Allen screws on the throat of the rod. Be sure to tighten up both screws evenly. Your depth and space rods are now adjusted properly to your machine. You will not need to readjust them later. With the rods adjusted properly, back the key away from the guide and remove the key from the vise. Be sure to insert the 2 Allen screws back into the table of the machine.